Hi, Taurus, and welcome to your September 2016 tarot reading. My name is Sky, and I have been away for a little while, but I am back and ready to really dive into some really great forecasts for the month of September. Just a few announcements before I start with the reading. Um, I have officially started my own Etsy shop where I offer a few different services based on tarot, and only based on tarot as of now. Like, if you want to request a custom order at the shop, you have the option to do so, and I do include astrology. But the packages that I offer right now are mainly tarot centered, although there is one spread that also pulls in a bit of astrology with it as well. So if you want to check that out, the link is in the description box, and I really hope that you will go and check it out and at least enjoy the aesthetic of the shop, because I've really been enjoying putting it together and just creating sort of a central hub of, one of my passions, which is this sort of esoteric knowledge and divinatory practice. So, anyway, I've changed the format of my readings just a little bit this month, since I'm still getting sort of my recording area it's in the works, so I'm just going to be delivering an audio recording for this month along with a picture of the spread. But in the future, I hope to integrate audio and video and really create a strong, structured, analytical system in which I can provide these readings to the fullest capacity and capability that they can be delivered at their fullest level of understanding by my audience. So anyway, this reading applies to Taurus, Sun, Moon, Ascendant, or any kind of conglomeration of Taurus energy you have in your birth chart. And without further ado, let's move on to this reading. So, it's going to be a big month for Taurus, that's for sure. First of all, you have 3 major arcana cards in your reading. And if you have 3 or more, to me, that's a pretty big deal. Like, to me, that signifies that September is going to be a big chapter of your year of 2016, or things will happen in September which will be memorable and will affect the future on quite a macrocosmic scale. So let's dive straight into it. I'm just going to kind of take this in for a moment. Okay, so I'm feeling like this anxiety. And what I want you to do, Taurus, I want you to just take a deep breath. Breathe in and breathe out. There is an exorbitant amount of stress and emotional clutter brewing within you right now, Taurus, and you've got to transcend this. It is not all bad. The first thing that jumps out to me is you have so much power right now, Taurus. So much power. You have the Emperor and the Empress in the same spread. Huge deal. And why is that a huge deal? Because the Emperor and the Empress are in charge, thinking kind of historically, in charge of their kingdoms. They are the 2 most powerful people in their kingdoms. And you have both of them in your spread, so that's just like, there's a lot on your plate. Like, there are people who have an expectation of you right now, an expectation of the way that you're going to use your power, and it's a lot to process for you right now. And I think that you might even be losing sleep over it. So I want you to breathe in, breathe out, release. Most likely you are not an emperor, nor an empress. And whereas your problems may seem like they carry the weight of the world or the weight of a kingdom, some of them, you can let them play themselves out. You don't have to put it upon yourself right now to make a judgment. You don't have to commit to anything right now if you don't want to, because you're in kind of a chaotic state. And the reason that I think this, the reason that I'm not sort of leaning like, okay, you have all this power and you're just loving it, like you say something, everyone's on your side, is because you've got this 7 of Swords The Seven of Cups, that's two sevens. The Devil and the Queen of Cups in reverse. All of those cards struggle a little bit. There's some kind of interior conflict that comes along with all of those cards. But it's becoming both an interior and exterior conflict because of the presence of the Emperor and the Empress, because they have exterior duties. Their power is seen at an exterior level, not on an interior level. So you're having to take all of these internal problems and you're having to transcend them upward and out into the real world, and it's creating a stressful dynamic for you, Taurus, because Taurus is a fixed earth sign. You need stability, and it's not that you can't have that with these cards, but it would appear to me that you have found yourself in a situation in which you don't feel very stable. Now, that's not all of you. So let's talk about the next major arcana card that's jumping out, and that's the Devil. Okay. You feel like you can't transcend something. I already touched on that a little bit, but you feel like you're shackled to somebody, to something, or that there's a negative cycle that keeps repeating itself. And it's like you thought that you had gotten away from this negative cycle, but once you do, you realize that it was more interior, and that even though you may have escaped a situation that you thought was the end-all be-all of your problems, you find them repeating themselves in new ways. And you find that, okay, this was an interior problem as well, and that's kind of cramping your style. What can I say? It's a painful realization that you might be going through right now when you realize that the choices that you can make in the exterior world do not necessarily always bring internal peace, even if you thought that that exterior problem was the source of the interior problem. Okay. So, Taurus, you come to this juxtaposition where you have choices to make. And you will be called forth to make choices in September of 2016. It's time to break the cycle. What can I say? There's a cycle going on where you let yourself be ruled by this. Like, look at the Devil card as I explain this. It's seemingly impossible for you right now to break this negative cycle. And even though you're removed from a situation, the cycle continues without something that used to exist in your past. And you have a truth to face. You have emotions, with the Queen of Cups reversed there, that have existed and were not allowed a proper channel. And these emotions have boiled on the inside, and now they're spilling out. What happens when something containing water gets turned upside down? It all spills out. And my guess is that this is happening when no one else is around. You're by yourself, as demonstrated by the Seven of Swords, Seven of Cups. They're both lone figures. No one can see them right now. And let's talk a moment about the Seven of Cups and how that's contributing. It looks like, Taurus, you may have had a false impression of what the future was going to bring, and now you're kind of having to face the reality in September. And you have to look at expectation versus reality in September, and it's like, for some Taurus, it's going to measure up. It's going to come together. Some Taurus may be able to turn the Queen of Cups right side up, may be able to healthily channel those emotional tendencies. But the real question is, are you going to continue to think that what is represented in the Seven of Cups down there on the bottom left, Are you going to continue to let that happen? Are you going to continue to allow yourself to have false expectations of the future? Because there's an undeniable struggle right now for you, Taurus. And that you just have to accept that, and you are good at moving through this. You have all the power. There's nothing about this reading that suggests that it's not something that you can transcend. You have the Emperor and the Empress. You can do whatever you want right now. But the question is, this pain that you find yourself in, are you going to create a cycle in which it happens again? Or are you going to transcend the energies that are represented? And I definitely, personally as a reader, I kind of take the shadow side of the readings, and I kind of hit the negative points in hope of bringing those to light, in hope of helping you to transcend those problems. There are good things about this reading, because the best thing to me is that you have the ability to escape it. You have the ability to make it work. You have the you can either walk away or you can make it work. You have either choice, because you have the Emperor and the Empress there. Sky's the limit is basically the moral of this reading. Sky's the limit for you right now, Taurus. You know, if you walk away, you may find that the cycle restarts just with a different catalyst, with a different person, with a different aspiration, you know. And contrarily, if you try to make this old, outdated situation work, it's the same as possible. It can just fall back into old cycles. But it's up to you, Taurus. Regardless of whether you choose to walk away or you choose to make it work, you can choose whether or not you want this cycle of having so much power, this cycle of having to walk on eggshells. You see that guy in the Seven of Swords holding all those swords in his arms. He has to step carefully, and he's getting scratched up because he's trying to carry more than he can. He hasn't come into contact with these swords. Assuming he hasn't come into the contact with these swords in an honest way. That is generally the nature and the depiction of the Seven of Swords, that he's trying to get away with something, that he has taken things that don't belong to him, and now he has to hold them in his arms and take their scratches and, you know, kind of bleed because of the advantage he chose to take, or the easy path, instead of paying for them, instead of coming by them in honest terms. Anyway, my point is that the cycle of doing that, the cycle of bottling up emotions until they spill over, the cycle of fooling yourself into thinking that if you just walk away, that the cycle will just disappear by magic, that you don't have to do any work. You have every power to transcend that. You have every power to do it. And I'm so happy. That is the silver lining of this reading. Because had the moon popped up instead of the Emperor and the Empress, or the Nine of Swords, cards that carry those stuck implications, I would be very worried. I would be worried Taurus is stuck in this cycle, and Taurus may not have what it takes to change it, but you do. And that is the most beautiful thing in the world. We all, as human beings, find ourselves in difficult cycles, recurring negative cycles. It's not something that anybody can escape, and that's an important point too, Taurus. Don't think you're alone in this. It's a part of the human condition, and you are blessed, Taurus, to have the capacity and to have the material, emotional, and physical power to change it for everyone's benefit, not just your own. You know, it's easy for Taurus, any of the fixed signs, Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo, it's really easy for them to change their own actions, for them to look at themselves, and for them to go on their own path. And sometimes this can create pain for others. You don't have to do that right now, Taurus. You can transcend this problem while at the same time making those around you happy, and that is beautiful. It's really hopeful to me. But you're going to be tempted with the devil card there. It's all about temptation. It's all about Thanatos. Thanatos versus Eros. It is the Thanatos side, the death drive. And the part of us, the shadow side, and the part of us when it goes unacknowledged will rear its head and sort of step into control. You know, there's a part of you who just wants to hurt those around you, who wants to do things how you see fit regardless of how others feel. But that's what leads you to step back into this negative cycle. And it's time to take the power that you've been blessed with and make positive changes for yourself and for everybody else. And that's going to make you so happy, Taurus. It might be difficult at first, but there's a happiness that comes with reaping positive benefits of the self and of the other. It's actually, like, I become slightly emotional when I look at this spread because there's so much pain. There is so much pain in this spread. Likewise, there's the ability to rise above it. And you have that choice right now, Taurus, and it's beautiful. You know what? Prove to yourself, Taurus, that you can. I feel like this has been something that's been going on for a long time for you guys. And you've been scared for a long time that you can't do this by yourself. That you can't be happy while others around you are happy too. Or that others can't be happy while you're happy. And it's something that's really scary to you, and it makes you walk on eggshells. It makes you fool yourself into thinking that something is the way that it isn't, and it makes you fall into ancient, worn out, negative cycles. Look at the roles that your mother and father played in this. That's another good interpretation of the Emperor and the Empress. You know what? You might want to ask yourself, how would my father handle this? Because notice the Empress is in reverse. I haven't touched on that yet. The Emperor is up about the Empress archetype that is not serving you well right now. You may be using it in a way that is prolonging this cycle of the devil, this cycle of the Seven of Cups and Seven of Swords. You know, and we all have father problems, we all have mother problems, but you have a lot to learn from how would your father handle this. It's a key word for sure. Whether that be good or bad for you. You know, it goes from one context to another. It's either don't handle this the way that your father would, or how would your father handle this? And you know already which one that is, based on what kind of figure he was to you, Taurus. I would say, on the other hand, asking yourself, how would my mother handle this, is also a good question. But just indicated, and this is not going to be for every Taurus, because this is a general reading. It says to me that it's more important to handle it the way that your father would versus the way that your mother would. Maybe it's important to acknowledge both. But there's something about the motherly archetype, about the seductor or seductress archetype, about fertility and letting things come into new growth, using that to your advantage, that is not serving you right now. And it's interesting food for thought, and there's a lot, you know, if you want to look up after this reading's over, the Empress Major Arcana Tarot card, look at that, look at the description of those cards, and think, how have I misused this energy? How has this energy had its way with me? In what way have I negatively been this archetype? And I think that you have a lot to learn from that. And it's going to be great. not easy, but nothing is. Nothing worth doing is easy. But September will be a month to remember, Taurus. And I think for a very good amount of you watching this video right now, you're going to remember September as the month that you were the bigger person. You're going to remember September as the month that you stepped out of an old negative headspace, and when you chose to make actions and do actions that benefited yourself and others around you, and you're going to find that, oh my gosh, it's possible for both to be happy. And that's going to help you sleep at night. That's going to help you wake up in the morning. I think, like I said, September is going to be the month where you realized and you changed an amazing... Well, it's amazing that you have changed, or that you will change in September, such an old, worn-out, negative cycle. Okay, so the new moon will start on September 1st, which I think is the day that this video will upload. Set your intentions. Set your intentions for how you plan on benefiting yourself and others. Finding that consistency, finding that middle ground, not sacrificing yourself, not sacrificing others, but compromising and coming together and creating a healthy give and take. Come September 1st through September 3rd, set your intentions for how you plan on doing this. Do some journaling if you have time. Taurus may be quite busy. That is also something that I'm seeing from this reading. You have a lot on your plate right now. But if you find time, write down your intentions. Write down how you plan to make things better for yourself and for others. Write down the old, worn-out ways of being that you're ready to release into the universe, and that you're ready to give away to who needs it more than yourself. After you do this, Taurus, say a prayer. Maybe do some stargazing. This is great stuff to do at night, by the way, when the moon is out. And ponder your existence. There's so much to be learned in the month of September. Thank you so much, Taurus, and I hope that you have a really great month. Again, check out the description box and drop by my Etsy store. I've enjoyed so much working on the shop, and I can't wait to see you guys in October, or if you choose to purchase something in the shop. Namaste.